EFT. Oh yeah,
That's good. Yeah.
that's a trick that I usually video, and then you can
You
make
can switch it to handsome.
brighter. Okay.
Can you switch the video to handsome?
You are already beyond it.
Oh,
Okay,
it's all right.
I think so. Can you guys hear? Everything good? Loud and clear?
So the other thing, Stanley, that happens with Geshe's computer weirdly. You go up to settings, the speakers that you have to go up to settings
Uh-huh.
and go to open up
Which
System
one?
preference.
system preferences.
Uh-huh.
Then you go to sound. So
Oh, wait, hang on just a minute. While we're here.
let me make the cursor big.
Okay, go ahead.
Click here, this button up here.
Go back. Okay,
Click
sound.
on sound,
This one.
and then MacBook Pro
MacBook
speaker.
Pro speakers.
Yeah,
Oh, then we can hear them.
right, because the Apple computer steals it.
Can you guys say something?
Hello, hello.
Cool.
Hello,
Okay.
hello.
We're good.
All right. So who's up? Is Adam, right, you guys?
Adam.
Where is that handsome guy? Okay, if I eat popcorn on the, all right.
Yep.
Okay. It
As
helps
long as you remember it's not out there.
So we're waiting for Adam, right?
We are. Do you have any marketing to do?
I do have a marketing thing. You guys ready? All right. Let me get it up. Okay. Here we go. Until Adam comes. I am very pleased to announce that the cartoon book is available in book, paper book, audiobook, and ebook. And I think it's the best book I ever wrote. It's the prequel to How Yoga Works. So if you like How Yoga Works, the story of the young lady who teaches the corrupt policeman how to do yoga, and explains the Yoga Sutra, by the way. This is the story of where she was born, how she grew up, how she tricked the Geshes into becoming a Geshe herself, even though women were not allowed to read books at that time. And it's an exciting adventure story. And so it's come out in audiobook, so you can listen to it in your car or something. Grandpa reads it. And it's also ebook, in case you want to read it at home. Okay, so Noor, he can read it now. Okay, he can read the book now. You just play it in the house all day. Okay, and he will get the seeds. All right. It's nice to see him today. Is Adam here yet? Nick? No.
Yeah, I'm here again.
Oh, let's do it, Adam. I'm getting out here. I was just selling books. Okay. People are throwing stuff in here. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it's very loud.
There we go.
Hey.
Oh,
How's your cold, Adam?
doing much better. Yeah. It's almost totally done with it. My throat's still kind of acting up a little bit, but
Okay, you look better. You look a lot better.
yeah, I feel tons better today.
Well, we'll feel worse with this class, okay?
I'm looking forward to it. So is the realization that sound is a changing thing a wrong sin or a cheat sin?
Mhm.
My goodness,
Trick
a
question.
realization. is a realization a wrong sen or a cheat sen, regardless of what it's about.
Tokpa's gotta be Shepa, gotta be Nopo, gotta be Mitakpa.
Got
I vote with Ben Kramer.
Did you say Shepa's got to be in Ngopo?
Yeah.
Shepa's gotta be Nopo, yeah.
Yep. Except for when the student learn some
Oh gosh, your internet
changing mental.
is not very good.
My internet or Geshla's?
No, I think
Geshe-les,
you're
I
all
only
right, Adam.
heard like 2 sounds out of that.
Probably
Geshe, you
better.
gotta tell your students in the lobby there to stop watching Netflix.
Oh, I think it's okay.
Yeah, while sound itself is a changing thing, the realization that sound is a changing thing, excuse me,
Okay.
is a changing thing, is itself unchanging, and therefore it cheats in. Anytime something is, quote, realized, it's done so via some logical process. And it's by consequence, it cheats in. Okay, so for 2, Kajib J gives a rather sophisticated argument as to why someone who perceives that sound is a changing thing may be wrong. What's the crux of this argument, and what oxymoron was used to describe this potential misunderstanding?
By the way, Adam, going back to the first one,
Yes, sir.
I would say the fact that you see that sound is a changing thing is a cheat sen. How's that?
Okay, yeah.
But the mental state itself is wrong sen. It's a changing thing. Yeah. But the whole realization, I realize that sound is changing. That realization is an unchanging thing, like all sentences.
Yeah,
Sound is a changing thing, but sound is a changing thing is an unchanging thing.
Yep.
the changing nature of sound is an unchanging thing. So, I'm having a hard time seeing the screen. I'm just going to turn on one of my lamps here, so I have a little bit. I can see the screen a little better.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, sorry for being late too. I
That's okay.
had to get a run in, so I think I was only like 30 seconds late, but
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
I had to take a shower. So I'm sorry, guys. All right, so KWJ gives a rather sophisticated argument. Do you guys remember the argument?
Mm,
Well, it's a perception that's accurate toward the fact that sound is changing, but it's a mistaken perception.
Yeah.
And it's a mistaken perception.
Yeah.
You perceive that sound, you perceive changing. To perceive that sound is changing is to perceive an unchanging thing, which just sounds disastrous.
Yeah, totally. I think you guys are kind of right there on. Does anybody remember the term?
Tropezema?
Yeah, totally.
Oh, wow, nice.
oh,
Yeah, that's it. Missing a little bit more there. So KWJ takes the deductive accurate perception that realizes sound as a changing thing as the subject of the argument that expresses the idea that anyone who perceives sound as a changing thing may incorrectly believe that they are also perceiving a changing thing. Mm-hmm. But we know that the perception of the changing nature of sound is actually an unchanging thing. So KWJ is saying that anyone who perceives the fact that sound is a changing thing and holds that perception to also be changing would be wrong, as a perception of the fact that sound is a changing thing is unchanging. So, yeah, I'm gonna leave I've kind of got a little punchline down there. Yeah, so what logical consequence arises when we follow the line of reasoning established in the argument referenced in question 2?
Concepts are unchanging.
I mean, unfortunately, here it would almost be saying that you hopefully this is a tongue gear, because he's sort of saying that you can't have a perception of any relationship that's not Tropa.
Well, he says as a consequence that we would have a third type of object.
Oh no, right, yeah. Right. This is the direct indirect, or the indirect direct.
Yeah. That's not that's not specifically what I was looking for. But as a result of taking the changing nature of sound to be both changing and unchanging, that would require the creation of a third type of object, and therefore a third type of perception.
Mm-hmm.
Something which is both unchanging and changing, which would require a hybrid object, and therefore a hybrid kind of mode of perception.
Nice. That's nicely stated. And
sorry, Gershlet.
Well stated.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Alexo, Siddha.
Yeah, so if the realization that sound is a changing thing and the perception of sound as a changing thing are both occurring simultaneously, then we'd have a new type of hybrid object that exists as a thing which is both changing and unchanging. And we know that this is impossible. So question 4. I told you guys I owed you a homework question from last time. So what is a curveball, and where? And anybody remember?
It's a pitch. I know that. That's it.
Curveball is a type of pitch that was invented at Princeton in 1873.
56.
I think. Yeah, there's a debate about it.
Yeah, curveball is one of the variety of pitches. Yeah, I thought, and I thought it's not entirely it's not entirely out of context, because you can see how there would be you could see how using certain arguments directed at an opponent, why throwing a curveball to a debate opponent could be a means of keeping them on their toes, or by trying, I could see how it'd be applicable. So,
by the way, Adam, the president of Harvard at the time didn't understand, and he said that Harvard pitchers would not use the curveball because it wasn't fair to deceive the batter.
Yeah.
Bleeding hearts, huh?
Yeah. All right. So limito, it's kind of the only novel term or phrase that we really had. So, can anybody give an answer to this non-answerable?
You cannot give an answer.
Thank you for proving me wrong there, Sarah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Good. Yeah, Len Meadow.
yeah, and here's what
Hey,
I'm
here
working on.
Better you than me, as they say. To say that you don't agree would contradict the quotes given above, which state that there are two kinds of because there are two types of things that can be considered. Nice. Okay, then. If you agree to this, are you then saying that this is the mean the object and the object? Here, right now, should on.
I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Talking.
There's some furious typing going on there. Some fingers of fury.
If you're typing fast, please turn off your mic. Yeah, I would take this chess to be drupje che. Okay, so if you say take sound, it's a changing thing because it performs a function, right?
So the thing to
So
be in the subject?
Yeah, the Churchen is easy, right? It's sound. Okay, Churchen means the subject that we're debating about.
Okay.
Chur here means Drupje Chur, which means the quality you're trying to prove about sound, which is the second part of a logical statement.
Right.
Take sound, it's changing, made. Okay.
Okay.
So when it's Chur here, I take it to be Drupje Chur, which means the quality about sound which is not proven yet and which you are trying to prove. Okay. What are we trying to prove about sound? That it is
that
okay. So now, what does it mean, a tsokten of sound and the thing you're trying to prove about it? What does tsokten? By the way, we had a big song do in Ben's text this morning. There was these big gatherings for debate, right? So what's a tsokten? Oh,
Sokdun would, we had a big party
Convocation?
last night, but Sokdun must be a Tsokchi, no?
Well, no, here it's a combined object, you know, the fact that sound is changing. You got it? Sokdun means a statement of two elements, okay?
Yeah.
It must be a combination. Okay, Sokdun means a combination here. Okay, let's take the combination of sound and changing thing. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Subject of the logical statement and the Drupje, the quality that you're trying to prove about the subject, right?
So
yeah.
No, sorry again. I didn't mean to cut you off. I had a question because in 329. We actually we addressed Takyang Dak Gijubja, and that's what I was going to use for quality to be proven. So how could I treat this cha here if I'm going to treat the Drupja down here as the quality to be proven?
Yeah, Drupja is not a quality here. It's the fact that you're trying to prove. You see. That sound is changing. Okay, you wouldn't call that a quality to be proven. You see what I mean? It's the fact that.
Okay.
It's the fact that sound. So Drupja means what you're trying to prove in general. That sound is a changing thing. Okay.
Well, because it's not.
You can say that Drupja. Go ahead.
No, there's a weird lag. I was just because it's not explicitly stated here. So I just. Draw the realization, the deductive accurate perception that realizes sound is a changing thing isn't necessarily stated and isn't explicitly stated in 329. So I'm just trying to figure out a better way to phrase that.
Well, let's do it when we get there.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that kind of harkens back to why I was bringing that up, because I still need to figure out how to address the cha dang cha chen gitso dun du tell.
We need 326 actually. Let me go look at 326.
Yeah.
We need 326. Oh, I don't have numbers on mine.
How easy would it be for you to throw the previous paragraph on that screen for us, Adam?
I just copied it in chat.
Oh, that's pretty good. Can you see the chat, boss?
I'll have to go over there. Hang on, I was trying to find it in a different way.
Here it is.
You might search on
here it is.
Onte.
Nice, Adam. There it is, boss.
Oh, okay. Onte. Chichen Chichen. Chichen Chichen. Let's take Chichen. Chichen means a concept, really, right? Let's take an unchanging object, okay? Unchanging principle or something, or an unchanging fact. Is it what you're trying to prove with a good reason? Why do you say that? Because it is the object under consideration by a deductive type of perception, okay? Deductive type of perception. And why he throws in muki to shelja here, that's a tough one in the second line on the screen here, okay? Okay, so let's say I'm trying to tell my wife, let's take the Japanese restaurant. What? We should go there because they have good food, okay? So the fact that the Japanese restaurant is a place we should go to, okay? The Japanese restaurant is a place we should go to is what I'm trying to prove, okay? The fact Japanese restaurant is a place we should go to tonight is what I'm trying to prove. Is that a changing thing or an unchanging thing? The restaurant is changing. To be a place to go to is changing. But the fact that a restaurant is a place to go to is a unchanging thing. Facts are unchanging. Okay, facts don't change. You know, oranges are orange. You know, it doesn't. A true statement doesn't change. Okay, if it did, then oranges could be sometimes purple or something like that. You see what I mean? Okay, so we say let's take the fact that the restaurant is a place we should go to. Is it what you're trying to prove with a correct reason? Okay, I would say yes. Okay.
Right. Well,
go ahead.
Geshe-la, I think if I remember correctly, we were just getting into a discussion about whether or not all Jepak semas are done through reasoning, or whether cheat-sens are only seen through Jepak semas, and then this came into the question of whether or not we could translate Jepak sema necessarily as deductive, because we don't know whether or not it relies on Sulsing Yimba. We don't know whether or not it relies on a Dayandak, and maybe he's fleshing that out here.
It could be, and again, the debate might be: are all forms of what do you call that? It's the difference between deduction and inference, for example.
Yeah.
Are all objects of inference also objects of deduction? Like he's kind of going there, okay? And you got to find different words for Jepak sema, and what was the other one? Dupcha, Dayandaki Dupcha. See what I mean? You got to.
Yeah.
Is indirect perception always deduction? When you figure something out, when you see something without using your direct senses and it's correct, are you always using logic? What do you guys think? I'll say it again. If you see something, if you figure something, if you understand something with your mind and it's not something you can see directly, is it always an object that you see with logical deduction? And if it's not, give me an example.
I think he's going to say no. And I think he's going to say that the image popping into your head of the first time your mother told you something was a clock is a cheat-sen that you're not arriving at through deduction.
That's a possibility. Yeah. As a archetype. Archetypes are. Yeah. Okay. Archetypes are abstractions, but they are not the result of deduction.
And so are the two types of semas, Ngunsum and Jepak, how neatly do they correspond to Rongsen and Cheat-sen? How neatly do they correspond to these two types of objects? I think we're hoping to find out.
Yeah. Okay.
Wait, I have a question, Geshe-la.
Okay.
Is it possible they're making a distinction between the reasoning, which is indirect, which infers something, and the direct perception of the inference itself?
Yeah, well, there's this nasty word here, nguki, in the second line.
Yeah, it's sure.
And I want you to put your mind on that. If I convince my wife, if I say, let's take the Japanese restaurant, we should go there tonight because the food is good, right? then supposedly, if it's a correct logical statement, in her mind pops up this image of the Japanese restaurant as a good place to go tonight. Okay. Here it says that idea that pops up in her mind that the Japanese restaurant is a good place to go tonight is an unchanging principle. Anytime you have a sentence or a truth, the sky is blue, if it's a correct sentence, it is not a changing thing. It is not a working thing. It's a concept. It's a truth. All truths are unchanging according to Buddhism. That's what makes them a truth. If they were 1% different, they wouldn't be true. You see what I mean? So anyway, that's a Chutsen. So can you, with a persuasive argument by saying the food tastes good to your wife, can you force to come into her mind what you're trying to prove here? That the Japanese restaurant is someplace we should go tonight, okay? Yeah, I understand. With a good argument, your wife can be convinced that the Japanese restaurant is someplace you should go tonight. The fact, okay, the fact that the Japanese restaurant is a good place to go tonight is an unchanging concept. Okay, it's not the Japanese restaurant. The Japanese restaurant is impermanent. It's changing every millisecond. Good place to go is changing every millisecond. But the fact that the restaurant is a good place to go, that's unchanging. That's a fact is always unchanging. Okay, the sky is blue, doesn't change. Okay, it can go out of existence, but it cannot change while it's in existence. Okay, as long as the restaurant's there. Okay. Now the question from me to you is: you okay with that idea? Oh, seriously, give me this face. Yeah. Okay. Now he accepts. The fact, I keep saying the fact that the Japanese restaurant is the place we should go tonight, which was the conclusion of my logic to my wife. I said, honey bunny, take the Japanese restaurant. It's a place we should go to. Why? Because it has good food. And then she says, okay, yeah, that's true. That's true. That fact that the Japanese restaurant is a place we should go to is an unchanging thing. It's a concept. It's not an actual thing you can touch. It's an idea, okay? And in Buddhism, ideas are unchanging in that sense, okay? And then, but my question to you guys is, he has the word, why do we have to specify? And what use is it to specify that the image that comes into her mind of the Japanese restaurant as a place to go to, why does that image have to appear to her directly? Why do you add?
If I wanted to find out, I would say Damadrup to Gedrubje, which our friend, the opponent, did here.
So, by the way, calling the fact that the Japanese restaurant is a place we should go to tonight, calling it the direct object of your mind at that moment, implies that there's a case where
With indirect.
So somebody give me an example of an indirect object perceived by logical state of mind. I don't understand.
One that you've never seen before, one that you've never experienced before.
Yeah, how is it direct though?
Well, you see, in my mind, if you establish something through logic, that's already an indirect object. You see, I mean, I don't know what you mean when he says the direct object of logic. He says by the way, it's a concept, it's unchanging concept, and it's direct. And I don't know why he says direct. That's my problem, Adam. I don't understand it. Yeah. And if you can give me an indirect one, I'll feel better.
Indirect object of logic deduction.
It's already I want an indirect object of deduction.
Right, how about this? You only go to good restaurants. You want to go to the Japanese restaurant tonight. So the Japanese restaurant must be a good restaurant.
I'm saying you got subject, quality you're trying to prove, and reason. Okay, wait, subject, quality you're trying to prove about it, and reason. I want it in this format. This is Buddhist logic.
Japanese restaurant that you never
You
go to.
always start with consider. Consider the,
The Japanese restaurant you never go to.
wait, consider the Japanese restaurant. You're gonna say that?
That you never. Huh?
You have to say consider. You
Yeah,
have-
I said, oh, consider
ah,
the Japanese restaurant you never go to.
okay, that's good.
They are a good place to go tonight
Yeah.
because all the other restaurants in town sucks.
I just say that's not a correct reason.
But what if it's a correct and by deduction, it does make it indirect? By negation. That's my point.
Oh, I see. In that case, any logical statement for proving, we call mamikbetat, any logical statement to prove that something is not there is indirect, according to Stanley, right?
Well, my point is.
Or I understand. I have to go through another thought to come to that one. So it's
Yeah, because
indirect.
you cancel all the other.
Yeah, okay.
Restaurants.
That's possible.
And
Okay.
only one is left.
Nancy?
Yeah.
Consider that my husband.
Wait, no, always start with the thing under.
Consider.
Consider my husband, for example.
Consider my husband.
Okay. Then say something about him that the other person might not accept right away.
Has an opinion about how good the food is at the Japanese restaurant.
Consider my husband. He has opinions about the food at the restaurant.
At the restaurant, as being good food.
Consider my husband. He thinks the restaurant has good food because
And we should go there tonight. Or I can't.
no, then you've mixed it up. Consider the Japanese restaurant. We should go there tonight because my husband says it has good food. How's that?
Well, I'm trying to say that what I'm perceiving is only the fact that my husband thinks that.
Yeah,
Not that
okay.
I accept the thought, and then it's my perception too, but I'm just seeing someone else thinking the thought, and so I'm just.
Okay. Consider the Japanese restaurant. We should go there tonight because my husband says it's a good restaurant, right? And then I have to make assumptions about what he says or something like that. I have to figure out stuff about what he says. For example, I have to consider him an authority in Buddhism.
Does he have good taste?
Yeah, which they never do. Okay,
So that makes it more indirect.
okay. Let's see if he ever mentions one. I don't think he does. But maybe it's important here. Maybe it's not important. Okay, Adam. Dharma Drubna in I can't read it very well. 327. If someone said Dogma Drub to 326, what were they saying?
There's they don't agree that that chitsens are be something directly considered by a deductive accurate perception.
Yeah, archetypes are not something that can be perceived directly by logic. Archetypes are not something which can be perceived directly by logic. Okay, is that true?
We don't know yet in this school.
But in general, we already said that truths are archetypes. Okay?
Yeah.
Anyway, Dharma Drubna, by the way, who's talking at 327?
Should be us.
Yeah.
The sentence ends with
Nah.
Well, there's a Tama Drup in between.
I mean, the sentence ends with dopa de chirchena. That's kind of what I had for
oh,
that.
I see. Yeah, the chain can start with Duna here in 327. You're right. That's okay. Okay, we could say that. Okay. Shelja Nietzsche Semani. What's that mean in general, Adam? Because we got to know if we're gonna. Shelja Semani.
Shelja Semani.
Shelja Nietzsche Semani. There are.
Yeah. It basically it's just saying there are two types of accurate perception because there are two types of objects which can be considered.
Good.
Yeah.
And I'm going to throw something in here just for, okay, just to confuse things. It may be relevant here to talk about the three levels of reality.
And this was actually, and this was a direct quote that we pulled from the Pramanavartika earlier, just a few sections above.
Yep. This opening lines of chapter 2, right?
Yeah.
So what are the three levels of reality? They are in a very interesting novel that just came out. The lady uses it in the debate.
Obvious, hidden, and deeply hidden.
Yeah, obvious reality, which is like colors of something in front of you. And then hidden, unobvious, hidden things. What's an example of kokyu?
Emptiness.
Huh?
Emptiness.
Okay, emptiness. And then shinto kokyu, super difficult to see.
The workings of karma.
Yeah, the specific correlations of karma. Okay, that if you interrupt a class, you will have to listen to bad rock and roll for the rest of your life. Only an enlightened being could tell you that. All right, I'm just saying. He said. By the way, he says because the objects are two, then the modes of perception are limited to two. And by the way, of the three levels of reality, he wants to lump the last two together. Okay, there's stuff that's obvious and there's stuff that's not obvious. Okay, because there's two kinds of stuff in the world, there's two kinds of perception. For the obvious stuff, you just open your eyes and look. For the unobvious stuff, you have to close your eyes and think about it. Okay, good. And what's the punchline in Kajun, by the way, for $100?
Depends on who?
I like it. I like it. I like it, but it's not what I'm looking for here.
Every object has these three realities.
It's specific. It's specific to who is viewing the object and at what time also.
Like blue, a color is not an obvious reality to a blind person. For them, it's something they have to figure out with logic, especially scriptural authority. People tell them there's a thing called blue, and they accept it. Okay, right? Okay. So the important thing is to say that for different people, the levels of reality switch around. For a Buddha, everything is first level reality, obvious. Okay, got it? Okay, anyway, so there's basically two kinds of objects in the world that you could consider, and they are hard to see and easy to see. Therefore, there's two kinds of accurate perception in the universe. Your direct perception with your eyeballs, your ears, etc., even with your mind, when you hear your thoughts. Or there's indirect, when stuff is difficult to figure out, okay? Now, when you figure something out, though, so if a blind person figures out that the sky is blue, okay, they cannot see it directly. So for them, it's kokyu or shinto kokyu. It's very difficult to perceive. And if they ever do perceive it through another person's explanation, for example, when they see blue, is it a rangsen or chitsen? Is it a concept or is it an actual thing? For them, it's a concept. For us, it's if you have eyes and you're not Seiji, who's colorblind, it's not a concept, right? It's not an archetype. It's the expression of the archetype.
You have to say that they're seeing a changing thing through an archetype. If they, like, I haven't seen the Sphinx, but I understand it's a Rangsen, even if I have to see it through the means of a Chitsen.
Oh, so you're seeing a Rangsen through a Chitsen?
I have to, yeah, I have to, because
What is a Rangsen to you through a Chitsen to you?
Yeah, the physical changing thing that is the Sphinx in Egypt is there, and I understand that it's a physical changing thing, but I have to imagine, I have an unchanging idea of it in my head that I come to through relying on authority.
That's okay. That's kind of where this argument came from. If you hear a sound, that's rangzhen. That's the actual expression of a thing in the world. And then if someone explains to you that it actually has a subtle impermanence, then the sound switches from an actual directly perceivable thing to a concept. Okay, that sound is a concept. The sound as a changing thing is a concept, changing by moment, right? Okay, let's take the combination of the subject under consideration and what you're trying to prove about it. Okay, Japanese restaurant is a place we should go to. And now, when you say Japanese restaurant, that's something you can see with your direct eyes and ears, right? When you prove to your wife that the Japanese restaurant is a place you should go to, does that restaurant switch from being a changing thing to an unchanging thing? Yeah, because it's part of a logical statement. It's part of a general truth. When restaurant goes from a single thing that you see or hear or smell to a thing that you use in a fact, oh, the restaurant is a good place to go, does that restaurant shift from an actual event in reality to a concept? Yeah. I think we'd say yes. Okay, I think Adam would say yes for sure. So if you say something is a chitsen, doesn't it then become, if something is used in an argument, then it has to be a conceptual, even if it's a restaurant. Okay. All right. Chenna, let's go to 328, Adam.
Okay. Yeah.
Can you read it?
Oh yeah, sorry again. Shenden la de tabui tokpa chung watin.
Opa. Not in English D. Tokpa.
Tokpa.
I always say you should raise your eyebrows.
Yeah, I mean, that's always I tend to gauge whether or not I'm doing it is, if I've got my voice box registering.
Yeah, okay, good. 대답에 tokpa 중화
중화 denki tang kowoy shepad di nyunchik.
Yeah, shiden dog means what? It's a, what do you call it? You're addressing somebody.
Those of intelligence.
What's it called in grammar? Vocative.
Vocative.
Oh, you intelligent ones. Shiden dog. Okay, K-J is addressing us, obviously. Oh, you intelligent ones. Okay. What's a topa? Yeah, I try to say it's concern, but topa usually means what, you guys?
Like
word?
a problem or
what happened?
Is it internet was cutting out?
Topa in modern Tibetan means a doubt about somebody else. Like I have a topa that he's really,
like a suspicion.
Yeah, suspicion. Topa means suspicion, okay? In scripture here, he says, I understand you could have some problems about trying to decide whether the restaurant is an archetype or a real restaurant that you can walk into once you use it in a logical statement. I understand your concern, okay? Who's talking? K-J. Hey, that's not a bad question, okay? Topa chungwa. Den means true, right? Truth, like the four truths, Dembashi. Yeah, that's a pretty good question. That's a very valid question. That's a valid concern, okay? Is what he's saying. Key. Therefore, Koushi, I'm gonna ship her.
We're gonna explain it.
I'll explain it to you, and you better nyunji.
You better listen.
Yeah, it's like very arrogant. It's like, yeah, that's not a bad question. Well, just sit down and listen, and I'll tell you what's the right thing. Okay, Nyenchik means listen up. Listen up. Okay, it's very funny. This is Songkhapa and his two students are. That's the way they are. They were not serious, boring guys. They knew when to have fun. All right. 228, 329, Adam.
Okay. Chitsen
Can you make your thing bigger? I don't know. It's kind of like 6 point for me.
Well, it's I'm having
Don't worry about it.
there we go. It's okay. The Zoom toolbar was kind of
okay
hiding it, but
let's try.
Is that okay?
Yeah, please read 329.
Okay. Chitsen Jepak Semengon Kik Shell Ja Yin La Tak Yang Daki Drup Cha Ni Mayino.
Yeah, and this is extremely difficult. Okay. Do you want to take a shot at it, you guys? And let's see how your translation says. That which is considered directly by deduct accurate perception is an idealization. What you're trying to prove there. Oh yeah. Okay. Here's his bombshell statement for all of you logicians. Okay. Chitsen Jepak Semeng Muki Shaja Yinla. It is true that when you are trying to figure out something deductively, with deduction in your head, with your eyes closed, okay, then what everything you're thinking about is concepts, conceptual. Even a smell, even a color, even a restaurant, they are not changing things. When you close your eyes and try to figure out something about a changing thing, that thing becomes unchanging because it becomes a concept. Okay, so far so good, right? Then he throws a bombshell. La, barked.
Curveball.
Curveball, yeah. I noticed you got the Chinese for curveball up here. It's kind of cute. Dayandaki Dupchani Mayino. Dayandaki Dupchani Mayino. But the conceptual form here is not what you're trying to prove with your logical statement.
Mm-hmm. Can you call him Takyang Dak a conceptual form?
No, a correct reason.
Yeah.
No, I'm supplying cheats and distributing it to the second half of the sentence.
Okay.
Okay, so the second half of the sentence technically says cheats and comma dayan daki dupchani mayan.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So something might be the thing under a conceptual unchanging object may be the thing that you have in mind when you're trying to figure out something with deduction.
Mm-hmm.
But the conceptual thing is not what you're trying to prove with the reason.
Yeah.
In other words, it seems to say the Japanese restaurant is a good place to eat. When considered as what you're trying to prove is no longer a concept.
You mean you can actually eat there when it's no longer a concept?
Yeah. So see, when you're trying to figure out something with deduction, is that object a concept? Yes.
Yeah.
When it is what you're trying to prove, is it a concept? K-J says no.
What is it then?
Oh,
that would imply it's a rangsen.
You have physical reference. You have rangsens, which are acting as reference. I mean, so it's not like.
Let me say it again, and this is the whole point here. When I use something like a restaurant as the object of deduction, it becomes a concept, an unchanging concept. Okay, but when I use something like a restaurant in a proof, it's not an unchanging object. But you see, he's trying to make a difference between proof and deduction.
Is he making the jump to like once you've proved it, then you're talking about the physical thing again or something, or like the outer world thing?
I don't know, but you see, I'm going to say it again. When you're using the second kind of accurate perception, which is deduction, we can say indirect perception, to see that
I think we have to.
To see that the restaurant is a good place to eat. At that moment, the restaurant is a concept, unchanging concept. Okay. But when you're trying to prove something about the restaurant, it's not.
Because it's too neat by addition.
Yeah, it seems like he's arguing in a way that almost tells us maybe not to use the word deduction for JPOT because it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, that's really tricky. Or why did we get into this argument in the first place? We were originally talking about the most famous proof in the history of Buddhism. It's got to be like a single syllable to a Buddhist. What's it mean?
Sound is a changing thing because it's made.
It's a changing thing. It was produced by causes and conditions. All right. So here, when you're using deduction, the thing you're talking about becomes conceptual. But wait, where did all these arguments come from? Somebody said, when you're proving to a non-Buddhist, why are we picking on non-Buddhists with the sound thing?
Because they accepted that the sound of the Vedas were unchanging.
They said the Vedas, the sound of the Vedas, and specifically Om, the sound of Om, they said it's eternal and therefore unchanging, even though it's produced with vocal cords and breath and everything else by an impermanent human. Okay, but that particular sound is sacred and it never changes. And we say, Om Chechen, take Om. Mitakte, it is sure as hell changing because it's produced by causes and conditions. Anything which is pushed into existence by a cause and condition is moving, right? It's getting less every second after its birth. It is decaying after its birth, okay? In that case, we had trouble because what are we trying to prove? What's the dupcha? What are we trying to prove? Sound is changing. Sound is changing, okay? Now, as a thing to be proven, the fact, here we go, the fact that sound is changing, is that changing or unchanging?
Unchanging.
Okay, so let's say it again, okay? You sure people. Is sound changing, yes or no?
Yes.
Is that fact changing?
No.
No. So when you see that sound is changing, are you perceiving something changing or unchanging? Because you goddamn said just now that sound is changing. And if you weren't thinking about changing, then you have a problem. How can you see that sound is changing if you can't see a changing thing? How can you say that the fact that sound is changing is unchanging when you got to see a changing thing to see it? Got it? Okay. So I would say here, look, there's a difference between the drupcha. Hey, think of sound, you guys. You got it in your mind? Okay, it's changing, right? Yes, changing. Now, the fact that sound is changing. Then it changes to a permanent thing, to an unchanging thing. Got it? Think of sound by itself. Okay, boop, boop, boop. Okay, now think of changing. Yep, got it. It's changing. Boop, boop, boop. Okay, and now think of sound is changing. Oh, that's unchanging. Okay, got it? That's what I'm saying here. Maybe as a drupcha, sound is changing. And maybe as something you prove, maybe as the object of a deduction, it becomes unchanging. Okay, to see the elements of the fact that sound is changing, you have to perceive two changing things, right? Sound and changing. Okay, when you take the statement apart, sound is changing. You have to first focus on, when I say sound is changing, and before I said changing, were you thinking about sound? Yeah.
You have to.
And at that point, it was a changing thing. And then I said changing, and then at that point that was a changing thing. And then I said sound is changing, and then at that point it became an unchanging thing. Got it? As an object of deduction, it's unchanging. As a component in the act of proving something, it's changing. That's what I say is going on here. It's 3:29. You guys okay with that? The same sound.
That's time, Geshe-la.
Let me say it one more time. I'm going to tell you a sentence. Tell me if the pieces are changing or unchanging. Sound. Changing. Is changing. 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 Okay, now, you ready? Sound is changing. Then that becomes unchanging. Got it? Now, are you perceiving something changing or are you perceiving something unchanging? Geshe-la, when you started, I was perceiving something changing. When you made it a universal truth, it became unchanging. As a Dayandaki Drupcha, it's changing. As pieces in a logical statement that you're trying to prove, it's changing. As a universal truth, which you have established with deduction, it's an unchanging. It's an archetype. Got it?
Yeah.
That's where he's going. And I think K-Dub is being cute. And he knows.
We covered two types of Jepak Sema earlier, like just 2 paragraphs ago. He said,
I'm gonna earn my money, okay?
Yeah.
Back and I realized I did not figure that out. He said there's 2 kinds of deduction. And I'm sure Ben Kramer, having been so noticing, perspicacious, he said, I wonder what he's talking about. I mean, I understand 2 kinds of sema, right? 2 kinds of pramana, direct and indirect, direct and deductive. Okay, I'm okay with that. But what if I tell you there's 2 kinds of indirect?
Yeah, we established this last term too.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Okay, I'll give you $100 if you got it right, Adam. Just be aware you're depriving Ava of her college money.
I don't think I heard the question.
You said we established in the last class that the 2 kinds of deductive perception, I want them for $100.
No, we didn't. We established that there were 2 different types of direct and indirect perception, and that those 2 types of direct were shuktok and ngutok and shuktok. One established directly and one established indirectly.
But let me finish real fast. Because he quoted the Pramana Vartika when he said there's 2 kinds of deduction, I went and looked it up in the Pramana Vartika to see what they were talking about at that point. And it's called something we haven't studied yet, I believe. It's called Rang Dun Jepak. Say Rang Dun Jepak.
Rang Dun Jepak.
Shen Dun Jepak.
Shen Dun Jepak.
And in fact, these are the names of some of the chapters of the Pramana Vartika. Okay. So Rang Dun Jepak. What do you guess is the difference?
Reasoning establishing for the proofs being established for the benefit of other people's minds, and then proofs which establish reasoning. Reasoning which establishes proof for the benefit of your own mind.
$100. I'll give you $100 because that's correct. When you sit alone at the kitchen table and try to figure out what the heck went on last night in the class, that's deduction for your own purposes. And then when you rush into the class the next night and try to explain it to a serious and Tim, that's called logic for the benefit of others. And those are the 2 kinds. Okay. One is for you to figure out reality, and one is to help other people figure out reality. Got it? Okay. Now, how the object being proved changes, whether you're using it to prove something to somebody else or you're using it to prove something to yourself. We're not going there tonight because we're out of time. Yay!
I'm sorry, Geshe-la. Yeah, I didn't know that that's what you were talking about.
It's so important that it's the name of the chapters of the Pramana Vartika. You know, logic for others and logic for yourself. Logic for your own, logic for when you're alone at the breakfast table in your own head, and then logic when your wife comes in, you try to convince her of something. That's logic for other people. Okay, got it? All right. Adam, take a shot at the next 3 sections, okay?
I will. Yeah, and I'm going to try to pull some homework questions from that. I hope I'll be able to get 3 out of that.
Come on, there's 100 there.
Yeah, okay.
All right, see you guys in the next class. Nick, I know we have negative 2 minutes, but you're going to be merciful on us.
All right, let's take a 5-minute break.
Hey. Okay, see you guys later.